Hey everyone. So normally I do readings where I already have done the reading and then I make a video about what I've seen. But it's been so long since I've done a live reading that I thought it would be interesting to do a live reading today. And what I'm going to be reading is the Taliban, and it is the 1st of September, and the Taliban have recently taken over Afghanistan, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a live reading for you right here. So I'm just going to take a moment here to reground myself and get my energy and movement, and then I'll go ahead and start reading. Okay, so the overall frequency that I'm getting for them at the moment, it's kind of like a yellow. And there's a lot of childlike excitement here. And it's almost as if they feel it's like a brilliant idea is kind of the vibe. And I'm seeing them packing up a whole bunch of stuff into a truck type vehicle. And it's like they've got a lot going on for them right now. They're very excited. They're in celebration. But it's not like they really know what the next step for them is. It's almost like they're in over their head. I see them driving this truck to what appears to be a city, and it's kind of like they don't really know what they're going to be doing. It's like a whole new world to them, and they really have no clue what they're doing. Let me see here. I see them unloading a dead body here. And there's this level of humbleness to them because it's almost like the city is like a divine god. At least that's the energy that they're reacting to this city. And so there's this extreme humbleness, but at the same time, it's like they don't have a plan. But there's a lot of gratitude here. I wanted to see what is this dead body about that it looks like they're burying. And it's kind of ritualistic. They have they have a lot of this humble energy to them, despite what you may think about the Taliban. You see them like praying and honoring honoring where they are, what they've accomplished, and where they're heading. But at the same time, again, they don't know what the future holds for them. I'm going to tune a little bit more into that. And this humbleness comes from a little bit of desperation and their realization that they don't know what they're doing. And it's kind of like they're praying, like their humbleness. They're asking for someone or something to kind of come and save them or help them or tell them what to do here. Kind of like you would, ask God or a God or whatever it might be for guidance. So they're not used to being in charge. So let me see, how is this gonna? And it's like there's a plane that comes and drops something off, but it's like that's kind of what they're hoping for. It's kind of like that's what they're used to. They're used to this assistance, and that's not really happening anymore. Not happening in the way that they're used to. So I'm seeing there being some royalty coming out of their team or their army. And it's like their leader is being erected. But some of them are not interested in following this leader, is what I'm saying here. And some of them are more interested in like praying and their humbleness towards their God, philosophy, religion, etc., etc. And they're like the connection to the divine is through this sense of like desperation and need, and like they are like the father figure is God and they are like the children, and so that's the role they're in, the role of a child in relationship to God, and that's kind of what they want, and that's what they're used to, and that's what makes them feel like they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so some of them, it looks like there's a bit of a divide within the team between this new like royalty energy of this new leader and kind of what they were doing. So it's almost like there's a sense of like anarchy within it, and that's kind of why a lot of these people were doing what they were doing, because it was what comes to mind is kind of like how Native Americans would put up a pole to see which way the wind would blow, and whichever way the wind blew the pole, that's the direction they would go. At least that's one Native American tribe. That's a practice they had. And so that's kind of reminding me of kind of where they're at and what they are interested in and why they joined the Taliban. But I'm seeing this new like order structure not working out for them. However, I do see in the future this structure of organization expanding out, but it's not quite what it used to be. It's not really rooted in the traditions of what the Taliban was traditionally about. So it's almost, I want to say, sacrilegious to some of the people here involved in it. And it's almost becoming more like a kingdom. Trying to see what happens here with all of this, how this progresses. I'm seeing the leader, and it's like he's seeing the people who are kind of divided on the other side that aren't really wanting to kind of see him as the God or their leader, because they want God to be their only leader, or what they call, what in their religion is their God. Um, and I'm seeing him kind of noticing this, and he kind of loses confidence a little bit, kind of turns around and isn't sure how to handle this. And he kind of reverses his stance, his progress a little bit. And it looks like he goes back a little bit more towards the book, so to speak. Back towards the original practice a little bit more. Then he starts preaching more directly from their faith. But by that point, a lot of people have kind of already lost faith in him, and they don't want to listen to him. And so it looks like a losing battle over time. And then the people who do listen to him don't really care to listen to him. They just do because, that's what the system asks of them to do. But they're not really interested in it. There's no passion there. And so there's no solid foundation. And so over time, I'm seeing their forces, the soldiers, the people, the power of the people kind of dissipating off to the sides, possibly other groups, other movements, I should say. But they still support Afghanistan, or they still support it's funny because they still support the Taliban on some level, but what the Taliban is kind of changes. So they don't really support the new Taliban, but they kind of support the old Taliban. So it's confusing. So there's a problem with the power structure here. And so there's not much leadership, is what it comes down to here. And not very much efficiency. And so the rules and the regulations are pretty loose, and it's almost like martial law a little bit, because the soldiers just kind of enforce whatever they want because the top-down rulership isn't very strong. So it's definitely not like in the US how police have guidelines they have to follow. There's not much of the guideline for what the police or Taliban soldiers are allowed to do. They kind of just, it's almost like anarchy in some sense, although there is power, so it's not anarchy because they're using their power. Looks like a lot of discontent and confusion within the power structure of the military here. I want to tune into the people of Afghanistan. I see them rushing around. There's a little bit of panic here. trying to figure out what they should be doing. It's almost like when you have multiple teachers or multiple leaders or multiple bosses, I should say, and you don't know which one to listen to. And so there's a lot of fear within the people of what they're actually going to get penalized for, even though there's the official story. But then there's the other side of what might actually happen, which could be a lot worse. So I want to tune more into the Taliban and its connection with the rest of the world, political. Let me see what comes up here. So I'm seeing them being very religious, and so it's like the religion comes first before any political affiliations here. And again, it's like this like blind faith kind of thing, even even coming from the like royalty leadership that I was reading, even from them, it's still this like blind faith. And I mean, I don't mean blind faith in a negative sense. I mean like they put all their faith into God and their spirituality, and that's really the main drive for them. There's no like political affiliations kind of dictating over that. But I feel like there's more here, so I'm going to see what's kind of beyond that, behind that. I'm saying there being a lot of like books and kind of debate about what is real, what is the truth for them, what they should be fighting for. It's almost like a scholarly battle, argument, maybe not argument, but you know, many different like scholars kind of battling each other. That's the vibe, the gist of what's going on here within their power structure to determine what they're gonna do, what their practices are. So it doesn't look like there's so much like a connection with other countries as much as that driving them. However, they do use things to their advantage with other countries and whatever's happening. It's funny because I'd think that there would be more like of a US connection, but it's more like a European connection that I'm getting. And I know this doesn't make sense. I want to say like France or something like that. It really doesn't make any sense. But there's some sort of something that's helping them politically. There's some policy that they're taking advantage of that makes it easier for them to do what they're doing. And it's kind of like both countries are kind of benefiting from this in some way. Like it makes Like, neither of them are doing it for the other one, but it's more just like it works better for them individually, so that's what they're doing. And they both kind of feed off of these policies that make it easier. And I get the word freedom, like it makes them more free to do what they want to do. The Taliban specifically, just these policies with other countries, like the EU or something like European. It makes it easier for them to be free to do what they want to do geopolitically. I don't see a connection between the US and the Taliban and what's going on here. And I really see just like a bubble of the US that's just kind of cut off from the Taliban. And it's really like just like close the door, turn your back, turned. I see Joe Biden like almost turning his back to the situation and just like um, cutting it out, like not listening. Like it's its own separate world. I want to see more about the past, maybe. So I'm seeing the U.S. military working with the people in Afghanistan, the governmental system, um, and it's kind of wishy-washy because they're really not as in control as I've always heard on the media, and it seems like the groups in Afghanistan actually kind of had a lot more say over what was happening, and the troops were kind of a little bit well, compromising with them. It wasn't that the U.S. troops went in there and just told them what to do and were like, we're here and you're going to follow our orders. There was a little bit of that within their power, but I'm seeing it as a limited amount of power that actually wasn't that powerful. Um, and then there's these groups that really are dictating what's going on. And the military is able to kind of work with them in some sense to kind of make a compromise. So it looks like it was more of a compromise than what I have always thought of. And it was like the troops didn't really know what they were doing there. The US troops. But they were directing things. I'm seeing them directing people. But it's like they're under the pot. Like I see like a sniper like ready to shoot, ready to snipe this US soldier if he doesn't do, you know, part of his bargain. If like they have like a certain boundary and they're not allowed to go past that within what they're doing in the country. So it looks like there's much more of an agreement here with the US than there is like the US versus all the other groups in Afghanistan. It looks like there's much more of a give and take going on here. So anyways, I'm going to read more about what the future holds for the Taliban, and I've already seen a little bit about how the Taliban looks like it's going to run out of resources, it's going to run out of money, funding, and potentially food, and maybe like metals and, you know, resources to build things, and it's going to become very harsh, a harsh reality for the people living in under their leadership, and women will become um, kind of like the pressure will build up and it will become much more difficult, is what I'm reading for the future of Taliban. I'm just going to see what else comes up here. If there's anything else for the future of the Taliban that comes to me now. I'm seeing them being less hard spoken. They're becoming more soft spoken, I guess you could say, in the sense that they're less dictatorial in the future. I see them kind of becoming a little bit more passive, I guess you could say, because they realize that their leadership isn't really completely working, and they have to kind of work with these other groups to kind of make everything work together in order for the people, the lower people, or the citizens, to be able to survive and make ends meet, because that's what the whole foundation is built upon. And so if that doesn't work out, then the whole thing crumbles, and they become more, I'm seeing the Taliban leaders becoming more aware of this necessary interconnection with all the other groups that may not necessarily be under their direct control. And so there's a little bit of this lax rulership and passive control. And I'm seeing them being much more flexible and kind of sitting back more and being less reactive to situations. So I do see that. I would personally, in my opinion, say that's a positive. So I'm going to go ahead and end this reading, clear out some energy really quick from it, so it's no longer lingering in my aura. Okay, thank you for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, check out my website if you'd like a private reading, and have a great day.